My name is Rose Klukas. I'm the Manager of Economic Development for the City of Campbell River. I'm here with my colleague Leah Knudsen, Business Development Officer. Thank you to Leah for organizing today's event. You're all in for a treat, and I know we're going to be talking about circular economy. We came to the decision to invite Georgia and Jill to Campbell River because under our Vancouver Island Coast Economic Development Association, we started a regional collaboration program of the circular economy. And, we realized that a lot of people, including ourselves, have a lot to learn about what is a circular economy. That's why we're all here today. And we wanted to bring that down to the community level. And I think you may be surprised. I think everyone can embrace different tactics to get us to be more efficient with the stuff that we use and keep things out of the landfill. But you didn't come here to listen to me. One item of housekeeping, we will have lunch delivered sometime within the next 45 minutes, I think. If you guys are okay with it, we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll get people to get their food, but we'll make it a working lunch so that we have the best use of our time. Well, we'll give you a couple minutes to eat too. Why don't you come up to the front? Jill and Georgia are here from Synergy Foundation, and I will leave it to you to explain who you are, what you do.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us here today. Really excited to have the opportunity to come up to Campbell River and chat about the circular economy with all of you. It's something that we're both very passionate about, and I feel very grateful that in my work every day I get to work with our business community and entrepreneurs and talk about the circular economy. So we'll get kicked off here. So as Rose mentioned, my name is Georgia Lavender. I'm our Director of Program Operations at the Synergy Foundation, and I'll dive into more of our work in just a moment here, but I also focus solely, or the core focus of my role is on the circular economy and then supporting other programs at the Synergy Foundation as well. And I'm joined by our Executive Director, Jill Doucette, today too. So she'll be up in a minute to share some more with you. Brief agenda of what we're going to be chatting about today. So I just want to give you a little overview of Synergy Foundation. Also, am I speaking loud enough for everyone? Cool. So I'll give you an overview of Synergy Foundation and the work that we do, and a few of our other programs as well. They do have some circular lenses to them too. And then we'll really dive into Circular Economy 101. What does it mean? I'm saying this word lots already, so we'll get really familiar with that. Take a look at the regional waste profile and start to identify some opportunities within your current waste profile, and then look at business solutions. And there'll be different solutions for every business, so hopefully we've touched on something that everybody can relate to today. I'm sure that you'll also start to realize that you're already doing some circular practices within your business as well. And then we'll finish up with how can we take action, how can we find some tangible items that we can leave here today and start implementing as well. And we'll save some time at the end for a group discussion. So you'll see some pieces of paper and pens on your table right now. Don't worry about it. We'll have some prompting questions towards the end. We'll have opportunity to kind of brainstorm together and talk through the opportunities as a group. So at the Synergy Foundation, we are a nonprofit. We're based in Victoria, but we do work across BC. And our mission really is to share ideas, spark innovation, and activate change to help steer our economy and communities towards a more regenerative future. And we do that work through our 3 core programs. Project Zero, which is focused on the circular economy. It's our newest program that we launched in 2019. We also have FED, which is our urban agriculture program, and that's focused within Greater Victoria. And then our Vancouver Island Green Business Collective. And this program I'm going to chat to you more about right now. There are kind of lenses of a circular economy worked into that, but it's really our way to work with our SMEs across Vancouver Island to help them identify opportunities to enhance their environmental and social performance within their operations. So, as I said, we'll dive into a little bit about VIGBC for short, because Vancouver Island Green Business can be a mouthful. So if I say VIGBC, that's what I'm talking about. And this is really a way for businesses to green their operations. So this was built back in 2013. This was our founding program that we launched Synergy Foundation with. And it's really to support businesses who are looking for practical and affordable ways to green their operations and enhance those sustainability initiatives. So we have developed different checklists for various sectors and industries, and we use this to conduct an on-site assessment of the business. And then based on the number of actions that you're achieving from that checklist, you'll be awarded a score, either silver, gold, or green, with green being our highest level to achieve. And we see a lot of the businesses, the first year they come in, we're generally around a silver, maybe a low gold score, which is right where that's very normal to be at. And then over the years, we work on identifying opportunities and implementing new actions to bring that score up to a green level. So for businesses, it's that guide to green your operations, and then it's also a great resource for consumers as a symbol of businesses that are values aligned for them. So businesses through the program will get those decals that they can use in their marketing, so digital and physical decals, to help promote the work that they're doing. So the sectors that we work with through the IGDC, it includes office spaces, restaurants, and cafes, of course, retail spaces, spas and salons, and fleet-based businesses, so whether that be construction, trades, and other kind of fleet businesses. And not on this slide, but recently developed and launched is our grocery store checklist. So working with grocery stores across the island, and that one has had some really great traction and making a really significant impact. We're also in the process of developing one for the food and beverage processing sector as well. So there may be some folks in the room who this might apply to, and there might be some interest in those assessments with that kind of checklist that we use. And those checklists, I'll note, they're all available open source on our website. So if you even just wanted to download it for your business and see, what we would look at or what you're currently doing or where there's opportunities, that's free on our website to take a look at and do your own self-assessment as well. And the checklist, we look at these different areas of focus. So building and operations, we're considering what type of lighting are you using? Do you have energy efficient appliances and computers and so on? Weather stripping around your windows to prevent those on those drafty days. Waste, what kind of diversion programs do you have in place? Are we looking at diverting the universal waste like your light bulbs, the batteries? Is there a system set up for soft plastics, and how can we support to implement those if they're not already there? Water, how can we reduce the water usage within your operations? And this can be as easy as putting low flow aerators on your hand washing taps, and can make a really big impact for a lot of businesses, depending what kind of flow rate they currently have. Transportation, how are your goods coming to you and how are they being shipped out? How is your team getting to work? What does your fleet look like if you're a fleet-based business? Purchasing and products. So this, of course, is different for every type of business, whether it's retail or an office, but being really mindful about the products that we're bringing into our business. What is the content that they're made out of? And is there room to perhaps bring more of a circular lens into our procurement as well? And then climate action. So these actions are really focused around carbon mitigation, measuring your carbon footprint and finding ways to set reduction targets and offset. And then lastly, social. So here we wanted to have a holistic checklist that also encompasses the social aspect of sustainability. How are your employees showing up to work every day? Do they have benefits, volunteer opportunities? Are they engaged in your environmental initiatives through their onboarding and so on? So some of the member benefits, why small, medium businesses want to join this program. There's a lot of brand appeal. So we have over 175 members in the network right now, and a lot of consumers will go to see what businesses are a part of this program and be able to shop values aligned. Reduced operational costs through various savings. Staff retention, we're seeing, I know it's such a tight labor market right now, and we're seeing a lot more employees who are wanting to work with values-aligned employers. General greener practices for your business, and then also being a part of that larger green network and different networking and connection opportunities. So as part of a business's final score, when we're on site, we're also going to be collecting environmental metrics to help you visualize the impact that your business is making by implementing these new actions. So you'll get your final score, and then also this kind of metrics report, and you'd be able to see this on our website as a collective for all the businesses in the program right now. This one here is based on an average office of 50 employees. So some of our Victoria businesses would fit into that. And it gives a sense of their water savings, energy savings, single-use plastic reduced, and trees conserved, and so on over the course of a year. So a few of the members, actually I believe it's Freya who will be doing our lunch today. They are one of our newest VIGDC members. They just joined the program this fall, so we're really excited to have them on board. Some of our other members, there might be a few familiar faces on here: Vancouver Island Brewing, Van City Credit Union, 32 Lakes over on Campbell River, and yeah, a few others, the Chambers and so on. So that is a bit about VIGDC. And then our other program that I talked to you about, and this is where we'll be spending pretty much the most of the rest of our conversations today, focusing is around Project Zero and the circular economy. And you'll see how these circular economy principles will influence those actions from VIGDC as well. So as I said, Project Zero is our newest program. We launched it in 2019 to really bring and support more circular economy concepts in BC. So when we launched, we started with our incubator program. And I'll chat about that a bit more in the next slide, but we wanted to support entrepreneurs who had an innovative idea in the circular economy go from idea to launch. So we are in our 4th year of the cohort right now. We have our final session with them tomorrow, and then they graduate early December. So very exciting about that. And then, as Rose mentioned, we are piloting a circular accelerator program. So we realized, we have this incubator for the startups, but what about all of our existing businesses and some of those larger businesses as well? How can we support them to transition their current operations to be more circular? And so that has kind of given way to the accelerator program that we're working on right now. And we also do lots of workshops and webinars to do capacity building and support our communities. So the incubator program, if any of you are an entrepreneur that has kind of an idea, or you know somebody that would maybe be a great fit for this program next year, we run it annually. It's 8 months long, and applications always open in kind of January of the new year. So through this program, we take entrepreneurs, guest experts, seasoned facilitators, and we work over 8 months, and we do really these focus sessions to help build the entrepreneur's business acumen. They're connected to accountants and lawyers for mentoring, paired with their own business coach. We bring in access to grants and loans to help them start their financing, networking opportunities, and then at the end we host a pitch event so they can get some exposure on their business and practice pitching. So at the end of the program, entrepreneurs are leaving with a pitch-ready business plan, new connections within the circular economy and business communities, and ready to go out and start their ventures and supporting our communities to reduce waste and creating new green jobs. So to date with Project Zero, we've had over 5,000 presentation attendees that we've been able to engage with. We've launched 46 new circular ventures. This year was our first year as a BC-wide cohort, so most of those have been all on Vancouver Island, and a few in the Lower Mainland. Of those 46 entrepreneurs, we had 23 youth-founded ventures and 26 female-founded ventures, and not including our cohort that's graduating right now. So from 2019 through the 2021 graduates, they've created over 80 green jobs in our communities. So with that and an overview of Synergy in our work, I'll pass it to Jill to chat more about the circular economy.
Awesome, thank you, Georgia. I was just thinking as you were talking that we haven't had a business graduate from a program from Campbell River yet.
No, we haven't.
So spread the word.
Yeah.
We'd love to have a Campbell River idea in the program. That would be fantastic. So getting into the meat of it today, we're going to talk a bit about the circular economy, but just to make sure we're not repeating what you already know. How many of you are familiar with the circular economy as a concept? It's something that is certainly a learning process, but a circular economy, what it's contrasted to is a linear economy, which is what we are currently all living in. So we extract raw resources, they get produced, they get changed, there's lots of energy, water inputs there, then they get distributed and moved around the world, consumed, and waste. So this linear model has a lot of inputs all along those chains, and it is very carbon intensive, and it draws a lot on raw resources. We've been moving more to a linear economy since the Industrial Revolution, and the circular economy contrasts this extraction, production, distribution, etc. cycle, and loops itself back. So A circular economy has different interventions to reduce the amount of waste that we produce at the consumption, to take a good and ensure it's repairable, it can be reused, it can be, you can extend the life of it. Goods are redistributed to somebody who could use them again. So this is your classic thrift store model or things like that. Goods could also be reconditioned, so perhaps there is some level of input to make it reusable, or they can be recycled. So you can see it goes a little beyond the 3 R's that we are familiar with. There's more R's in a circular economy, and ideally this whole process is powered by renewable energy. And then you have a low carbon economy, but also you've massively reduced the pressures on our local environment while enhancing jobs and enhancing our local economies. And this is particularly important in rural economies that depend on goods coming in and waste going out. And that is a bit of a broken system. So the whole idea is to challenge our mind to say, how can we design waste out of our economy? And wherever there is waste, think about that as a resource instead of a liability and a costly thing on our balance sheets. So that's why why the circular economy concept really clicked for us. There's just a ton of economic opportunity. And George is going to be sharing some of the examples in all of these shortly. So what are the benefits of a circular economy? Obviously, we get reduced emissions from all of those aspects we talked about, embedded emissions in products. We don't have to make new products over and over again, and ideally, we're transporting them around less. We create new green jobs in areas that have more circular economies. We're localizing waste management, so you're not shipping it off, you're dealing with that waste locally, creating those jobs and ability to source that waste as an input. You're creating that supply chain resiliency. The circular economy got a little extra, oh, hello, good to see you again. The circular economy got a little extra attention after the pandemic because things were cut off and we had some severe supply chain issues. I'm sure you had some of those in Campbell River. Vancouver Island as a whole had some serious concerns, and climate change as well. You know, we can't rely as much on our existing infrastructure. So circular economy is also a climate resiliency strategy, which is interesting. So it just ticks so many boxes when it's done right. Creates so many entrepreneurial opportunities within the circular economy, and that's what Georgia spends a lot of her time on, is helping those entrepreneurs really launch businesses that are in those 5 R's that we went over and are disrupting the economies and creating new norms. And that spurs a lot of innovation, can bring R&D funding into our communities, creating those new revenue streams, and all of this economic opportunity also helps us meet our regional waste targets. So there's so many win-wins with the circular economy. And you might be thinking, well, okay, that's great, but where are we at now? How big is this problem? There was a global study done to answer this question on how circular is our world right now, and it's only 8.6% circular. So that means 91% of every good produced is destined for the landfill or to end up in the ecosystems. This is a massive gap. So that's our baseline, and we'll just work up from there. It's a bit daunting, certainly, but like we said, there's lots of economic opportunity in that. Just to kind of break that down, that big number a little bit, some figures that we're working with here. Plastic, obviously a big one. 18 billion pounds of plastic enter our oceans from coastal regions every year, and 89% of all the plastic produced in Canada will go to the landfill right now. So this is quite close to that 9% metric right home in Canada. The recent Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report painted a pretty dire picture of our climate crisis. They said we need to cut our global emissions by half. However, they still keep rising. And in this gap report, where they mapped out that circular gap that we have, that 91%, they also stated that we have the opportunity to cut our GHG emissions by 39% by only moving our circularity to 17%. So there's a lot of emission saving opportunities there as well. And according to the World Economic Forum, this is a $4.5 trillion opportunity. There is a lot of revenue lost when we have this linear ecosystem. So How do we actually go about funding a circular economy? Where does that revenue come from, that $1 trillion opportunity? Obviously, new revenue streams. So if you think about, let's say a resort. A resort might be paying, especially these remote resorts near here, they might be paying $5,000 a month just to get waste out of their facility. And that's not unusual for a large resort. So, but instead, what if they were like, well, this cardboard waste, what if we shredded it and got a little compressor machine and we use that instead of logs in our fireplaces? You've now just turned that into a product that you can use. So you've taken your liability and turned it into an asset. So that's just a small example, but you can create new revenue streams, you can create new products and services, you can also create new ways to turn your own liability line item into an asset. Obviously creating those local jobs as well, remanufacturing and value-added processing, which we talk a lot about in the forestry industry, but honestly applies to every single industry. And there are lots of different funding opportunities for circularity, whether that be accessing grants or loans. There's low interest financing available for starting a business like this or for doing a project like this within your company. Wage subsidies to support hiring somebody on to play that environmental role within your organization, and innovation partnerships with universities. So if you're in that R&D stage, there's lots of opportunities to access R&D funding. Circular economy is a hot topic, and we're seeing a lot more grants being geared towards initiatives in the circular economy. So as a local region here in Campbell River, what can you do to promote and drive circular economy here? Partnerships are huge. You know, that might start with a little conversation like this where you're like, hey, I kind of got something and we might have the same problem here. Or maybe we should be talking to all of the retailers in our industry about this. And that's usually where all the good stuff happens. You obviously need policy support once to get some momentum or break down those policy barriers that may be in the way of that. We're going to need investment to create a circular economy in any community, and space to innovate and access to support for that innovation within organizations. So those are the 4 key drivers of a circular economy in any community. So let's take a look at waste here in Campbell River. So this is what your waste profile looks like. I'm sorry if it's a little bit small, but you can see here that, so this is your landfill composition. This is from 2017. So food waste, that light green wedge there, that's the biggest opportunity. You can combine that with looking at yard waste or tissue and toweling. Paper towel, I mean, this is pre-COVID as well, so paper towel numbers have probably gone a little higher with all the hand washing. But you can see all of those green bars, that's essentially all organic material. That is a huge volume of material that has value that's currently entering landfills. That's followed by paper as a second opportunity. So that's about 5% is just paper. Paper packaging as well, another 6%. So at the end of the day, over 50% of all the waste from that composition study can be readily diverted through just composting and recycling. And let's just go back and look at some of these other like smaller materials, because though they're not in huge volume, there's still value in there. You've got glass, that's 1%, metals as well, plastics is 4%, clean wood, a little bit there, not as much, drywall and gypsum, nemesis, beverage containers, hazardous products, and electronics. So those are the main compositions of your landfill right now. Yes?
I'm curious, how does this compare? Is this generally what you see in most communities, say, on Vancouver Island? I think I might have expected plastic to be bigger, so that is, in my mind, positive. But
right.
Those other categories are quite large. Is that typical? Is this a typical composition?
Actually, you make a really good point, Rose. And yes, it is for communities that don't have composting facility. Yes. The food waste one in a community that has a commercial residential composting program, obviously it will shrink down. But what's interesting to me is this non-divertible material. Sorry, face is right in the light. I would say that's untrue. Non-divertible in a linear economy, sure, but there's a lot of plastic in there. But it's deemed non-divertible because there's currently no solution for it. But if there was a solution for it, then it would be considered a divertible material that's currently in the landfill. So you still have this, we don't know what the composition is of that 46%, but I would think it's a lot of plastic right now. And a lot of what they would consider single-use items that are not currently degradable. So that's just household garbage, that's commercial waste, etc. So it's a big opportunity, but that's a little peek at what the waste composition looks like right now. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, I think just going back to the composting piece, that is generally where we see quite a bit of the landfill composition. And then in the non-divertible material, also a lot of construction waste that could probably be eliminated through different practices. Mm-hmm. So that's a conversation I've been having a lot lately with different municipalities is we're throwing so much money into our landfill from construction waste, and a lot of this material, if it was deconstructed and separated, actually has a lot of value in it still. So I imagine that a good chunk of that is probably what's in the non-divertibles as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Plastic and C&D is going to be a lot of that gray wedge. Okay, so we've already kind of digested the data here, and we can always flip back to this if you're like, hey, show me that pie chart again. It's also obviously available on the website, but we've talked a lot about the problem, so I'm going to pass it to Georgia to share some really cool businesses that are addressing some of these circular challenges.
Awesome, thank you, Jill. And also we do have a little table at the back there with some circular goods on them, so when you get up for lunch you can take a look at them. Some of them are in my presentation, some of them aren't. I can chat to you more about the ones that are back there though, just to get a little feel for some of those products. So we're going to come back to this circular economy model and really look at what products fit into each of these loopback systems. And as we go through this, you'll probably be like, Georgia, that's great, but doesn't this also fit into your redistribution or into another part? Yes, often a product might actually touch on 4 or 5 of the loopbacks throughout their life process. So just know that there is some movement in there as well. And we're going to start with the inner loop. So we'll start with reduce and work our way out. And the way that we do that, and the reason we do that, and the reason that these loopbacks are smaller on the inner loops and get larger as we go out, is because what is in the inner loop is less energy intensive, less resource intensive. And so those are going to be our preferred methods when we're looking at how can we address a circular economy in our business. We're going to want to start with the inner loops and see if it can be addressed there, and then start working our way out and using recycling kind of as our last option in a circular economy. So we'll start with reduce. So here, this is where we are asking ourselves, do we need this product? Even just having that intentional as a consumer, having that question to yourself, what is our intention behind buying this product? And how are we designing the product to ensure that there's no unnecessary packaging, any unnecessary waste designed into the product, so we can look at it from that design standpoint as well. So here we're really looking to eliminate the waste before it is even created. And this really begins, before you're making that first purchasing decision and so on. So here, these are a lot of disposable items that we're all probably pretty familiar with. They make their way into our daily lives. We have our disposable coffee cups, the single-use containers whenever we go to get takeout food, and plastic wrap that we would use in our kitchen. And so they actually provide a lot of opportunity, and those can be reduced and as a consumer from the conscious choices that we make, but also as a business and thinking about what are the options that we're giving to our customers. So I know Jill kind of touched on the plastics problem already, but 50% of Canada's plastic waste is actually coming from that single-use packaging. So as a product designer, really asking that question, can this packaging be eliminated? Is it even necessary? Can really have a big influence. And this number can be reduced through the elimination and innovation of our products. So these are some solutions to those single-use items. We have the reusable takeout containers. There's actually one on the back there. Reusables VI is a kind of tech-enabled takeout container service, and so they partner with restaurants to provide them with these reusable containers. As a customer, you have the option to select if you want your product or your dinner served to you in a reusable container. You hit yes, they pack it up for you in your reusable, you take it home, enjoy it, you wash the container, you have 7 days to drop it off at one of their participating drop-off locations. and then it's collected, sanitized, and re-enters through the system. So they're in Nanaimo and Tofino right now, and they're working on getting started in Victoria. We're seeing a real huge takeoff with this in Vancouver as well. But Jennifer, who runs this, is a wonderful lady. So if you have a restaurant and you're like super interested in this, maybe it's time to get Campbell River on board with that. Sugar sheet is great for our office businesses. So it's actually using a byproduct of the sugarcane industry to create paper. So you have forest-free paper. So we're using something, again, just seeing that waste as a resource. Otherwise, what's going to happen to that byproduct? We can make great printer paper out of it. We're using our reusable bags. This one we're all probably very familiar with. And then looking at, okay, so we have plastic wrap for our food. We have a lot of food waste. Plastic wrap doesn't really keep our food fresh for very long, so we're throwing out more stuff from our fridge. You can use a beeswax wrap alternative. It helps keep your food fresh longer, so you're eliminating the waste there, eliminating the plastic waste, and then they can just be composted at the end of life. And then one other note, just back on those containers, the reusables, one of the justifications for that is a reusable container can be used, so one container can replace 400 to 500 single-use containers. So significant impact there, and over the long term, businesses can start seeing savings with that too. So next is the reuse and repair loop back. So here, when we're making a purchasing decision, we're considering can this product be reused and repaired? We're looking to purchase for durability and repairability. And then for things that we already own, we're asking ourselves, how can we extend the useful life of this item? So some examples we have on the screen here. If you are shipping a lot of product out, or perhaps you're having a lot of goods coming in, and you can talk to your supplier about this, but the reusable pallet wrap product and then reusable shipping pallets are two really great examples. So reusable pallet wrap, it's actually designed to be used about 2,500 times before it reaches the end of its life. And if you are using wrapping pallets a lot in your business, you'll see some big time savings. So traditionally with stretch film, it takes about 3 minutes of labor per pallet to wrap. You can save 3 minutes of labor per pallet by transitioning to this, as well as 176 feet of stretch film. So if you're doing a lot of pallets, that's going to add up pretty quickly. And then the reusable pallets at the bottom, they're lighter than your traditional wooden pallets, so you have less emissions when you're shipping. And they can be reused up to 250 times, so a lot more reuse opportunity there. For other items, maybe you get like a little hole in your jacket or a tear in your jeans, and often we'll look at those goods, especially with fast fashion now, and say, this is no longer of use to me, and I'm just gonna send it to landfill. By taking the time to repair our goods and also having that intentional purchase of a good that has the ability to be repaired and reused. And then even as simple as reusable milk containers with Avalon. It's a great system that works very well. Our bottle deposit, those milk jugs are kept in circulation for a long time. We see other companies like Justo's Hummus doing that, where you can get your hummus in a reusable jar and eliminate the plastic. This one, they're one of our ventures who graduated from our 2020 cohort. So on Vancouver Island, when your favorite rain jacket or your tent rips and you need to send it away for a warranty repair, it's usually sent over to the lower mainland or down to the States. So there's just a lot of emissions in shipping that around, and we're not keeping that money in our community anymore. We're sending it somewhere else to pay somebody else to repair it. So these outdoor enthusiasts saw the gap with that, and they started a local outdoor gear repair company. So tents, kayaks, your outdoor stove, they have a facility in Victoria. Well, they will repair those goods for you locally and keep that in the community. Yeah.
Jackets too?
Jackets too.
Okay.
Yeah, Gore-Tex. Yeah, absolutely. Your Gore-Tex, your down jackets, they're really great. Another thing you can do in your organization is look at how can you foster a repair culture internally. So again, back to just purchasing those durable items with high repairability, and having that be a part of your purchasing policy if you have one as an organization. Prioritizing repair over purchasing new when possible and when feasible. If you have a 25-year-old freezer that's somehow still chugging along and sucking a ton of energy, it might be ideal to replace that one with something more energy efficient. But when it is feasible and makes sense, really looking at that repair as your first option. And then hosting community repair events. So we see other nonprofits or perhaps at the library or at the schools hosting repair events to foster that community connection and collaboration, allowing other folks from the community to bring in their local their household items that they need repaired and getting support in doing that. Yeah.
Campbell River has a huge issue with this,
Yeah.
especially to do with e-waste. So we're in the technology sector,
Yeah.
and I just finished school, and we were looking to do a charity program.
Yeah.
So we went down to the Recycle Depot to inquire about getting computers and electronics, so I could build them for my practicum, and then we could disperse them out for charity or whoever needed a low income. Well, we got so much red tape trying to get a hold of somebody initially, just to talk to them and display our idea. And for us to actually get access to them, for us as a small business,
It's about a $2,500 a year cost to
Just
be a
have to get
recycling
certified.
depot, but we don't want to be a recycling depot.
Yeah.
We want to intercept what's going there.
Yeah.
And as a good example, there was an employee that worked at the recycling depot a few years ago. He brought me a couple totes just
Yeah.
after that apartment building burned down. And we were able to make 5 working computers, which we donated to the families.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I was thinking if I was stuck in a hotel with my daughters and they had no entertainment, I'd lose my mind.
Yeah.
I love them, but there was just no way it could happen. So
Yeah.
there was laptops that were in those bins that there was nothing wrong. They had
Yeah.
a sound. I opened it up and a screw fell out and it fired up just fine. So we took the hard drive, we destroyed it, put a new hard drive in,
Yeah.
and donated it. But even old laptops could be turned into Chromebooks for free.
pretty cheap, yeah.
Absolutely.
So we tried to give the community, but we just hit red tape left, right, center. And we thought, well, if we could get some e-waste, why couldn't we build a makerspace? They could come to us. What do you want to build? Do you want to build like a cool projector? Do you want to have an outdoor theater? We could show you how to do that.
Yeah.
Like, the worst part is most of the e-waste is just shredded
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then thrown into a large landfill, and there's highly toxic materials in those computer circuit boards.
Absolutely, because it's probably being collected, would it be being collected through an existing EPR program right now?
Yeah, and essentially Gabriel
Yeah.
Island or something, that might not be the exact island, but basically it's just shredded.
And Recycle isn't even a Canadian company, they're in the States, so even to get a hold of somebody that actually has some pull, it's not happening. So people with like ideas that help the community, you're kind of stuck. And
Yeah.
you see this multi potential just going out the door.
And that brings us back to those policy pieces, right, where we shared at the
Exactly, yeah.
beginning, so we need to, and
why
that's
we're
why
here, we're trying to get home.
it helps to have conversations where they're not siloed conversations. So we're making sure that we have policymakers in the room and we have industry in the room and we have the community members in the room so we can collectively see that, okay, this is a barrier. So we've been taking down some notes today, so I know Jill has this, but
Yeah.
also for us just being like, okay, what's the barriers in these communities? And then we can talk to folks and see, okay, is there a way that we can address this barrier and support entrepreneurs and businesses like yours that are trying to do this impact?
Yeah, we would love to make a makerspace in Campbell, because we have nothing for the kids here. There is nothing. There's a bowling alley, anything else?
We'll talk.
Thank you.
We'll chat.
I was like, there's some people in this room who might be able to help you.
The arcade's gone, there's a bowling alley, and there's an old theater.
Yeah.
There's nothing for them to do.
This would be a provincial level policy.
It is.
It is, absolutely.
And
And then it goes to federal because they're not even any.
It took me a week of being passed around before I finally got told no in probably the rudest manner possible without even hearing me out.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, this is a bottle of whiskey evening, because like I was stressed and I was tired of spending every day on hold to only be sent to a different department that had no idea what I was talking about, and I just got the runaround.
I wonder, I want to do some digging into this for you as well, because I know there's some companies that operate in Victoria where they'll come and pick up your e-waste from your office and then they refurbish it. So I wonder where the collection point is.
Yeah, but how
and
did they
stuff.
get their permits?
Yeah.
Because,
We need a policy change or loophole.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
because every age, there's no ageism in technology if somebody's there to present and explain, right? There shouldn't be a barrier.
A lot of our clients are seniors that bring their computers in, and I've essentially like give a penny, take a penny box of RAM chips from old computers. We don't charge them for it. We put it in and just make the computer a little bit faster.
Yeah.
One of the ladies that I saw on Sunday, she was like, great, every time I started my computer, I was wasting 6 months of the few years I have left. and her computer was really slow. Like, but hey, she got her computer back and she was, oh, I can open my e-bank in less time than it takes to go to the bathroom and make tea. And her computer was really, really slow. Like, I get it. But she was just using the same computer she's been using for 10 years, and we had a bunch of the parts to just easily throw it in there and make it faster.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm sure we'll be able to carry on more of this thread afterwards as
We were
well and
just on
see
the
where we can
makerspace
move it.
Yeah, of course.
A makerspace
That's
would be
good.
great. I love seeing makerspaces in more communities too. So with that, the next, once we looked at how can we reuse or repair it, we want to look at, okay, could it maybe be redistributed? Or is it an item that could actually be shared? Often we purchase, say, like a lawnmower or a snowblower, and we don't use it every day. It spends a lot of its useful life sitting in our garage. That's a lot of wasted resources from us on our money, our hard-earned money, but also it's wasteful in the extractive sense where not everybody needs one because we don't use it all day. So there's opportunities to kind of work around that, whether that's sharing, whether that's redistributing when the good is no longer of use to you. So that's kind of my two examples on the left-hand side here. I know in Campbell River, I believe it's called C&L Supply Rentals, but it's an opportunity to rent large machinery if you have that one-off project, a power washer, you want to clean your deck, renovation tools, lawn and garden tools, your lawnmower, and so much more. So it really spares up more of those resources and creates a really great sharing economy and community. And then, maybe it's your bicycle or your old jacket. There's lots of great thrift stores and someone else is going to get a lot of life and enjoyment out of that good for many more years still. So it's just rethinking, what do we do with this material? Is it actually waste? I really like up in the top corner there, Supply. They created an art redistribution center in Victoria. So they take used office supplies and other used materials that people would often just send to landfill, and they have a art redistribution center. So they get those goods into the hands of local creatives and also local school teachers to support their art programs in the schools. And they run a series of workshops as well, just to fuel that kind of creativity in the community. Habitat for Humanity, whether you're doing a renovation or deconstruction or a new project, lots of opportunity there, whether you're needing to get rid of materials or looking to get materials for your build. And then on the right-hand side, just a picture of some baby clothes. There's a company called Tradle in Vancouver, but they do service across Canada. So baby clothing, they grow out of that so quickly, and there's a lot of turnover in that. And so they created a really great solution where, why don't we just share the baby clothing? Your baby's maybe wearing it for 1 or 2 months, they grow out of it. That product still has some useful life in it. So it's a subscription model service where you pay, I think the base model is about $30 or $50 a month, and you get a bundle of clothing. When your baby outgrows it or the season changes, you send it back, you get a new bundle of clothing. And so it's another great way to help reduce that waste. And so we see more of these kind of business models coming into play to support that sharing of resources. So we start getting into our outer 2 loops here. You'll see those loops are getting a lot bigger. So these final 2 stages of the circular economy, they require major changes to the goods, and that inherently requires more energy. So in the reconditioning stage, products are being taken back for upgrading or value-add processing. So here is Ergo. They take cooking oil from restaurants on South Vancouver Island, and they convert it into biodiesel. And so you can actually, there's a biodiesel pump in Cowichan, and you can choose your blend, and you could run on 100% biodiesel from that pump. And then they also have recently created a concrete form release agent for the construction industry, again, out of that kind of converted cooking oil. So really neat innovation there. This one, they're in our current cohort right now, Waste Not Wool. I didn't know this before this spring, but in the wool industry, when sheeps are sheared, there's only so much of that's usable yarn, and there's a lot of waste on the ends, and that's either just landfilled or burned, so releasing a lot of carbon in that practice. But what she's doing is she's collecting all of that wool that nobody wants, that can't be used for anything, and has a pelletizer machine creates these neat little pellets on the right-hand side, and it becomes a natural fertilizer. And soil amendment. So you add this into your garden, it retains water and does a slow release, and then also acts as a natural fertilizer. We can also look at reconditioning for clean energy. There's a lot of conversation around, it's great to see all of these EVs, but we need to create a circular economy for electric vehicles and a circular economy for those batteries as well. And kind of one of the first doing something like that is Moment Energy. And what they do is they repurpose those electric car batteries that are no longer in use, and they create renewable energy storage banks. So they can store energy from solar and wind power with these. And then bioflame briquettes. So I know Jill was mentioning an example with the hotel or the remote resorts and using more of that biomass to use as heat. And so they take waste sawdust and they turn it into these briquettes. The briquettes are designed to be used in homes, and they burn very clean and provide a lot of heat. And then they also have a wood chip product that can be used in industrial biomass heating systems as well. And last in this section is Salt Legacy. So being an island community, she spent a lot of her life growing up sailing and on sailboats. And what we don't often think of is, where do those sails go when they can't be used on the sailboat anymore? And they're made out of nylon and hard to recycle or repurpose. So they're such a durable material. Just because they can't use them on a sailboat anymore doesn't mean that they're worthless. So she creates adventure backpacks and bags, surfboard carriers, and so on, out of those recycled sailcloth. And then for all of the fixtures, so the zippers and the buckles, those come out of recovered jackets from the whale watching boats, for example, with the survivor suits. Show when those are at their end of life, she can use all the hardware off of them to go into the backpacks. And every backpack comes with a story of the sail and the journey that it's been in, wherever some of them have been around the world, and each of their unique story. So it really ties the consumer to the product as well and has that emotional connection to the product. And we made it to recycling. So this is the final stage, and so it's our final stage that it's available. It's the most energy intensive stage, but if we can't address, or maybe you know what, you've already hit it in all of those others, and this product is just at the end of its life, then it's ready to be recycled. And so here products are being broken down to their separate materials, and then they're re-entering production process to become new products. So I actually have one of these jackets on the back table. No, you can't take it home. I'll be very cold. Someone already asked. They're Anion, so they're a clothing company out of Victoria. They take all of this waste textiles. We live in a very fast fashion industry right now. Every individual throws on average 80 to 90 pounds of textiles away a year. Every single, that's a lot. So they're really for that slow fashion movement. We're seeing more brands coming into that space. They actually collect these dirty textiles. They do natural fiber, so they don't work with polyester. They'll collect wool and cotton, and they clean it, shred it, respin it, and then create jackets and other pieces of clothing with this recycled material. And their products that they create are incredibly long lasting and well made, highly repairable. And so that's where we see entrepreneurs coming into this space. Another for recycling, I'm sure some of you are familiar with Ocean Legacy. They've recently opened up a depot in Cumberland to collect ocean waste plastic. So whether this is some foam floats or crab nets, those crab pots, some rope, anything like that, those plastics tend to be very hard to recycle because of the marine debris that's on them, the salt, and just what they're made out of. But Ocean Legacy, so they're based in Richmond, they have the ability to recycle marine plastics, and they turn it into PCR pellets that can be used in new products. So perhaps you have a dock or anything like that. If you do have these marine products that need to be recycled, they can go to the depot in Cumberland. And then lastly, for the construction industry is unbuilders. I learned it's very much British Columbia when I was chatting to folks from Ontario. We have very much a deconstruction or a demolition mindset here in BC. And so we demo a lot of properties and a lot of homes to put up newer, bigger properties. We're throwing so much money into our landfill every year when we do this. And so we're seeing more municipalities come in with deconstruction bylaws. And Unbuilders is kind of one of the real drivers in this space. And I've been working with municipalities to look at more deconstruction opportunities. And when we deconstruct a home, we can salvage about 95% of the material by volume. So you think of all of those houses, that's a lot that's being diverted away from our landfill. And things that we're recovering include really great old growth lumber. So pretty much any of the homes that are 1950s or older have a lot of that old growth lumber in them. It has a lot of value. There's a really good market for that, as well as windows, doors, appliances, even that more dimensional lumber that can be used as, I was chatting with a construction company in Nanaimo, and they actually used it for their forming for the foundations, for the back framing. So there was still opportunity for that lumber to be reused again. It is becoming a more alternative option to demolition because of provincial and federal tax credits that are becoming available. So if it's something that you wanted to pursue, you can have one of their assessors come into your facility or your building and see what is the value of the materials that are in there, what can you anticipate getting in a tax credit or resale of those materials. That is it for my circular examples. I think we have just a couple more slides and then we can break and grab some food and then come back for conversation. But before I pass over to Jill, I just wanted to see if there was any questions on some of those examples that I shared. Yeah.
I think just kind of to like these guys' point, so there's lots of ideas, but like where do they go? So where does someone go if they're like, I'm spending time trying to address this problem and maybe like the business next door is also trying to address that problem. Like where's the kind of centralized information? Like is that kind of what in that networking side that you have? Like that's where people can say like, I have this.
Sometimes, yes, there are some platforms. One's called BizBizShare, where businesses can put up their waste material and other businesses can buy it off of them or use it. It's really a lot about having these conversations and starting to build these relationships and see who else in your community is maybe battling with the same waste issue, and is there an entrepreneur. And maybe there isn't an entrepreneur in your community who's ready yet to take on that waste stream, but then our innovation side comes in, right? And it's, we're seeing this as a problem. We see communities doing reverse pitch events, so businesses at schools, they'll pitch to the students, these are our waste streams, what are your innovative solutions to help us tackle that? And so it's really about starting the conversation and seeing what opportunities can we build from that. And that's what all of the entrepreneurs that we've worked with have been doing and working for over the years.
To your point though, I really feel like every community could have a circular concierge.
Yeah.
That is facilitating all of these dialogues and making those things happen, because there is really no central like BC-based organization that is working on that. And a lot of the solutions are within one community. And you sort of just need to know people, like, or maybe there's a great platform for that. BizBizShare has made a dent in that for sure. So it's more of a digital solution, but I think it's so relationship based as well. So potentially an opportunity.
I just want to say, I'll go on the record right now that the chamber will be that for Campbell River. You can post it on our website. You can have it up running next week.
We were chatting about that in the car yesterday.
Well, that's never happened that fast before.
Yeah, yeah, we can be we're already the connector of multiple organizations in Campbell River, as well as we have an existing relationship with the school district as well as North Island College. So that's where the Makerspace place comes in, and working with ecdev on that as well. So we can host it on our website to create a platform for you guys. So let's work on that we can work on that in the next few weeks.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. It can be the place where everybody can go to find that information.
Yeah. And it can even be simple things. I've seen businesses in our community who were located right beside each other. We had a hardware store and then a local potter. And the hardware store was like, oh my gosh, everyone's shipping things in so much soft plastic. We don't know what to do with it. And the potter was like, I don't want to buy bubble wrap. Can I use your soft plastic? And so now all of their soft plastic goes to the potter. They use that to package up their goods before they're sent out. So it can be solutions like that as well. It doesn't have to be biofuel or, biomass briquettes. We can have just these really, really impactful solutions as well on that scale. Awesome. Yeah.
I'll just put a pitch in for the local farming community. Folks may not be aware that grain prices have really increased dramatically over the last year, and so a lot of animal producers are really struggling. And if there are businesses that are food based, that have waste products, I think a lot of farms in both Campbell River, Strathcona Region District, and Comox Valley would be very interested in receiving those waste products. It would probably be a win-win situation for both.
Absolutely. I wonder if there's any breweries, microbreweries with the spent grain. We see that happening in some other communities, or restaurants with the pre-consumer scraps that can then go to feed as well. So maybe some more connections to build there too. Well, maybe I'll pass over to Jill to just wrap up on our kind of few slides, and I think we'll grab some lunch and then dive into more group discussion.
Great, thanks, Georgia. Sounds good. And actually, we're already starting on this dialogue, so that's great. And I see some sustainable packaging back there, so thank you, Freya. So next steps in terms of creating a circular economy, conscious consuming, supporting this, taking a bit of a scan of who's already doing this stuff in our community. We likely already have some people who offer shoe repair services, who offer sustainable products or services, or sharing economy solutions, and all of those good things. So being conscious consumers ourselves, of course, is the first place to start. And maybe some of the products that we put at the back, we'll spread them out again somewhere. Oh yeah, they're along the window there, so feel free to take a look at those as well. Starting the conversations and seeking other learning opportunities, and we're happy to share some around as well if you want to get more into the circular economy. But these are these kind of conversations, and you hearing from each other is definitely where this starts. And of course, looking to reduce your own waste streams, or think about those in a whole new way. How can this be a resource for myself or for somebody else within the community, like we've already been talking about. So just a couple of ways that you can get involved. Obviously, a business can join via GBC. If you know of any businesses in the community, just a reminder about our incubator program. That will open applications around December, January. What's the date?
January.
Sometime in
January.
2023. So we'll run 2 more cohorts, a 2023 and 2024, and then we'll see. You can also do a waste audit of your own business and just get a bit of a baseline. Lots of businesses have never really looked at the volume and taken stock. What do we make in a month? What do we make in a year? What's the weight of it? What is the size of this problem? And really focus on those streams that are your biggest problem. Using Pareto's principle, what's 80% of your waste stream, and focusing there first. And if you want to keep in touch about circular economy initiatives on Vancouver Island and throughout BC, you can sign up for our quarterly newsletter at Project Zero, and we share more about some of the ventures that Georgia mentioned and some of the cool stories going around Vancouver Island. So enough of hearing from us. Let's get into some group discussion, and we can have lunch while we do this. So we just have 2 activities for us. So the first one is to discuss what are the most problematic waste streams in your business or industry. We kind of got into this. So let's start there and just kind of take stock of, what are the top 3 waste streams amongst your tables? Where are they coming from? And where are they currently going at the end of their life? And if you have some time, maybe think about what is this costing us in terms of this waste stream?